You are treating people with autism, but you don't even know what is it. It even exists.
He dropped out of school at grade 9. The classrooms were too loud, the system was too rigid, bullying relentless, and nobody had the language to explain why. It was only when he left Sri Lanka at 16 that he was finally diagnosed as neurodivergent. Most people would have let that be the end of the story. He decided it was the beginning of one. He went on to found the Treehouse International, a school in Sri Lanka built exclusively for neurodivergent children, where 80% of students relocate from overseas just to attend. He became the first educational scientist of Sri Lankan origin to be elected as a chartered scientist by the British Science Council. And earlier this year, he made history, leading Sri Lanka to a Guinness World Record with a 60-meter sensory installation. Our guest today is Dr. Anton James.
I had a 365 days a year, I had a headache. That's like you sometimes think that everyone in the world is experiencing what you're experiencing. I thought that I can help people who are similar to me. So I became the first person with a Sri Lankan background to be qualified. Even now, there are only a handful of people. I'm certified as a chartered behavior psychologist in Ireland. I'm certified in Ontario as a behavior analyst. And I'm also a subject matter expert in behavior. There are people who actually failed my behavior therapy course. Science is not the problem. Our objective is to make the child independent, not normal. How long did it take to
Fix my child.
become normal? Some doctors in Sri Lanka is actually spreading this bit, is that they're telling the parents that it is caused by parenting and screen time. The parents are already feeling guilty. Early intervention is really key. If you have a child with cancer, you don't wait. The British High Commission has approved our school. This is the only specialist school they have approved in Asia.
So, Dr. Anton, you're a credentialed scientist, psychologist, educational assessor from the UK. You have a lot of qualifications, especially in the special needs field, that I think no other professional in Sri Lanka really has, at least not that combination. You're also the founder and director of Treehouse International, which is Sri Lanka's only school dedicated exclusively to children with special needs. And you're also aiming for a Guinness World Record. But I think all of those very impressive credentials set aside, I mean, to me, there are people who study a problem, and then there are people who actually live that issue and then go on to solve it. And you fall in that second category. So welcome to the show. It's really lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. So yes, credentials, and you're very impressive. We want to get into all of that. But I'd like to start by taking us to the very beginning of your story, because we understand that you've had a very unique childhood and a very unique pathway to where you are today. So would you like to maybe start with that?
Yeah, I'm not sure where to start. I think I like to start from where my GCSE level, that's why most of my memories are coming from. When it comes to grade 8 or 9, I decided not to go to school. I decided to stay home, but that was in St. Lucius in Cartagena. The reason behind that was I found it really difficult to be in a classroom, and the noises were too overwhelming for me. So I couldn't really function, understand what was going on in the class. So when I studied at home, I can do much better. So I asked the principal, he said, okay for me to study at home. And they were happy with that because I'm teacher's pet.
Oh, okay.
So they said, okay. And without any teachers, I was studying for one year, and I wrote the GCSE exam in 1996. At the time in Cartagena, that was in Tamil medium, that was the best results. Then shortly after, one of the challenges that I had during the time is I simplified to say that it's just the auditory sensitivity. One of the main challenge I had was I had a 365 days a year, I had a headache. So that's like you sometimes think that everyone in the world is experiencing what you're experiencing because it's like that for the rest of your life. Then I remember me being in my bedroom, and I just make this noise because it's like a humming noise. As soon as somebody walks in, I just stop the noise, and then as soon as they leave, I start the humming noise. The doctors in Sri Lanka, they all scanned my brain, but MRI, and said there's nothing wrong with that. And actually one doctor said that I'm imagining the headache. So when I arrived in Canada in 1996, that was October. That's where in Canada, the sun, it's the autumn, so the winter's coming, sun is leaving. And about 3 weeks after arriving in Canada, my headache was gone. Then I gradually felt like one day I remember waking up and thinking, I think this is how other people feel in the head. You know, this is the good feeling, like that is, it feels good. I was so happy that winter, and then the first time I had winter, snow, and it was really happy. Then in March, when the sun started to come, the headache started to come. So I was really petrified. Oh my God, like this is like a nightmare. I didn't know what was going on. I was 17, and I was turning 18, I believe, and I went to my family doctor and I explained that to him. He was the smartest doctor. He said, that sounds to me like you are sensitive to sunlight. And at the time, I thought, like, he doesn't want to give me any medication. He's just trying to throw me out. Then he also went on to say that how I came earlier complaining about certain textures and when I put on clothes. Because in Canada, people wear wool, and then as soon as you put wool, and it felt like caterpillars were on your skin. In Sri Lanka, you don't wear wool. No. So he said that it looks like a sensory issue for you because your tactile system is not accepting that, and then your visual system is too sensitive. Then he and in Canada you have guidance counselors in schools, and they thought I must be referred to a psychiatrist to see what must be going on. This guy has a sensory issues. So when I wore the sunglasses and the headache was gone, then now I tend to go with the sunglasses everywhere if I'm going to be outside. Even if I'm outside for like 10 minutes, I will get
it's back.
It's bad. So the psychiatrist at the time, he said that I have PDD-NOS, which means pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. It's a weird name.
Yeah, very long name.
So I didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, what is that? And he said basically that if you're already turning 18, this is how you are. Like, there's nothing we can do. There's no medication. This is who you are. And then he talked about AUD at the time, that this is what we consider as the most effective approach. Then for me, that had a closure in a way. Like, it made sense to me that why...
You finally had
answers to a lot of things. Yeah. So when I was younger, I went to a school where there was a lot of noise, and my grades were like way below, and I was in the corner, and I was like at the very back.
Our sponsor for this video, grade5.lk, offers rigorous paper sets that you can purchase, but this is not for every child. Grade5.lk is reimagining the way learning is done. For a digital generation, using interactive skills, digital lessons, digital papers, skills that actually help students prepare for their exams using scientifically backed methods. From English to mathematical models to grade 5 scholarship preparation, Grade 5 can be your modern education partner. Thank you to Grade 5 for sponsoring this video. Now back to the podcast.
Then I went to a Catholic school at the age, what age was? That was grade 5, I believe. Then it's like Catholic school, they were like, the nun will come and drop a pin, and you have to hear the pin. If you don't hear the pin, she'll cane everyone. It doesn't get quiet. It's really quiet. And my grades went to like 95. Grades went to 95. So a lot of things started to come back to, that all makes sense. And then all kids wanted to go and play, socialize and play, and I wouldn't want it to. But at the same time, I'm really good in sports. I get the championship in running, but I don't want to play with other kids. I would just sit at home and not go to church and play, but that's where all the kids play. So I put everything together, and everything made sense to me. And then I had to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 schools within 2 years before I graduated my high school in Canada. So because I couldn't, again, I had a problem, I bullied, it went on and on. And then eventually in Ontario, the government had a system called ILC, independent learning center. So the same curriculum, you can do it online. My grades went like 95. Like, it's just, and I was really good. I was doing really well because I was staying home and studying. I was really good. Then, because I come from a family where being a doctor is the only choice.
Yeah, everyone's exception.
Medicine is the only choice. My dad and everyone, my mom is a biologist, and it's just everyone is in a science field. So when I entered, I also wanted to become like my dad. That was like the only thing. So when I went to the university, I looked at the courses they have and realized like, I can do what I want in my life. It doesn't have to. Then gradually I realized that if I do psychology, I thought that I can help people who are similar to me. Then when I started psychology and I finished psychology, and I decided towards that time, I decided that I'm going to come back to Sri Lanka and open a school. So even though I applied for a dual citizenship immediately. So my idea was that I'm going to finish my degree and I'm going to go back.
Okay.
Then I realized that that's not enough, because then having a psychology degree doesn't mean you can run a school. That is a totally different set of skills. So I started to specialize in ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, that from the US. So I became the first person with a Sri Lankan background.
The first person
With a Sri Lankan background to be qualified. Even now, there are only a handful of people are qualified. They all live abroad in Sri Lanka. As a behavior analyst, I'm the only one.
You're the only one in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Can you briefly explain to people that haven't heard of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis? What is it exactly, and why exactly is it considered the gold standard?
Right.
Or is it even considered?
Yeah. So nowadays information is no longer privileged, in the sense that now we have ChatGPT. You don't have to do a literature review to find out. ChatGPT will do that for you. But I mean, it may not be 100% accurate, but then if you do a literature review, or even if you ask the ChatGPT, right, what is the most effective and evidence-based treatment for autism, the first option will be applied behavior analysis. So if you look at psychology, speech therapy, occupational therapy, all these professions are historically regulated by the country, the government regulate them, state regulate them, but not ABA.
Okay.
So what happens that historically you're talking about 1920s, 1930s, then people would go and read a book about ABA, and then they start applying it, calling themselves, they're practicing ABA. So technically that also included punishment procedures historically.
Okay.
So what happened is that during that period, a lot of people without any adequate, nowadays things are different. At the time, no supervision, no ethical contract or no ethical obligation, and you're not responsible for anything. So you just go and read a book, then you start doing it. And then that became a big problem, because ABA is really powerful, and then people start just calling themselves ABA therapists and practicing it. So in the US, especially in Florida, became the first place, I believe, is to regulate behavior therapy and score who can be a behavior therapist or not. Then they realized the whole over the world has a similar problem. So the US became the first country, a behavior analysis certification board. They started to certify behavior therapists from all around the world. So from China to Sri Lanka, everywhere, if you wanted to practice, you can certify from behavior from the US, and they have a pre-approved curriculum from specific universities. You had to follow, you had to have a supervised experience for 2 years. Then you had to write a board exam, like 4-hour exam, and then there are people who just watch YouTube and call themselves a behavior therapist.
Okay.
Right. So,
So you need to be licensed to be a behavioral therapist?
you
or
have to be
do not?
certified. In the US, you have to be licensed.
Okay, what
Every
about
single state.
here?
Here, no.
You don't?
Here, no. Here, no. Here, even there are people, anybody can call themselves
A behavioral therapist.
even if without a degree, without anything. You can, anybody can. There are people who actually failed my behavior therapy course.
And
I've
still call themselves behavioral therapists?
In LinkedIn, I see them calling themselves behavior therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then people come and say, consumers, that ABA is bad. I'm like, you can't say science is bad. It's not the problem with the science. It's the people who practice without certification, regulation, ethical oversight. Then that's where the problem comes. It's not the science. Science is not the problem. So if, for example, that I'm actually certified in the US, I'm certified as a chartered behavior psychologist in Ireland. I'm certified in Ontario as a behavior analyst. And I'm also a subject matter expert in ABA. So I write also university curriculum in ABA as well. So ABA is not the problem. It's that people.
It's the application that maybe.
It's the people without any of these.
Who don't really understand it, who try to apply
it. When you practice ABA, there are different levels. So in order to practice ABA independently, you had to have a master's degree in ABA. For speech therapy, you had to have a bachelor's degree. So the problem here in Sri Lanka, for speech therapy, you can, if you want to practice, you can have a bachelor's degree. It's a master's level qualification. People are practicing without that. It's not only that, then you have to have supervision, you have to have exam, you have to have continuing professional development. You have to show them for every year you have been up to date with the research and this you have done. You have to upload all of them to every year in your license.
But that's really dangerous. I mean, if we have people calling themselves behavioral therapists without having failed an exam, I mean, whose fault is that? Is that the government's failure to regulate licensing and qualifications?
There are two problems. I think if we say, going back to my original thing, asking, if you ask ChatGPT will say, what is the most effective and evidence-based treatment for autism? It will say ABA as number one. If you ask most of the medical professionals in Sri Lanka, do you know what is ABA? They will say, I don't know.
They don't know. No, we actually saw a statistic that a lot of qualified doctors, at least 50% of them, are unaware of autism and its symptoms.
I provided a seminar for doctors, about 50 of them, and I told them, if anybody tells me, you heard the word ABO, explain to me what is ABO, I'll give you 5 million. And nobody put their hands up. I was so confident. So you are treating people with autism, but you don't know what is the most effective. You don't even know what is it. It even exists. It even exists there. It has to be regulated. It even exists. You don't even know. That's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. It's a systemic problem. Government, in order to fix something, you have to know there's a problem. The government doesn't know there is a problem because they don't even know it exists.
Exactly.
The solution does exist. So if you take the Treehouse where we have at the international school, more than 80% of the students, they come from all over the world to study here in Sri Lanka. Imagine people used to leave Sri Lanka if you have a child with autism, right? Now people from Japan, Africa, Dubai, London, even Malaysia, Singapore, they come here.
To attend your school.
Yeah. And why would they do that? That's because ABA is costly. Because it's like same thing in Sri Lanka, it's costly because you have to take a lot of data, every single behavior. We take data, we draw graph, we look at the site, based on the evidence, we make decisions. It's costly. So because it's costly, so the option for people to go to Middle East. So a lot of American doctors, they came and opened up a lot of clinics. Instead of going to America, it's even more expensive.
And more expensive, right.
So we are doing it cheaper in Sri Lanka. So people decided to come here in Sri Lanka. People, they know it works. They know it works. And
Okay.
Can you give us a practical example, maybe, of what I understand it in its concept, but can you give like a practical example of what it would look like for someone coming to Treehouse, for example, and has to...
You're undergoing that kind of
Yeah.
therapy. What does it look like?
So when we have a behavior, people, the most common problem parents would say is, oh, he's not listening to me, right? So when you say the child is not listening to you, that's not a behavior. That is your interpretation of the behavior. So for example, you ask me, can you go and get me the water? Then it takes me 10 minutes. For the 10 minutes, I'm not doing it. Then after 10 minutes, I'm leaving to go and get the water. So you would say you're
disobeying me.
I'm not listening to. So that's your interpretation. In a behavior, we could call that is the problem with the latency. Latency means you give the instruction, the time that takes for you to do what you asked, that time, latency is too long.
Okay.
Right? So in ABA, you look at the observable behavior, something you can measure. And then the important part of ABA is we don't look at how the behavior looks like. That's not so much important. We look at why the behavior happens.
Okay.
Why that behavior happens. Say, for example, when I was growing up, I like this example. When I was growing up, there was like a student who was like a bully. Every time the maths teacher comes, he will just hit somebody. He will hit somebody or push somebody or say something. And the teacher would say, like, she gets really furious.
Gets provoked, yeah.
She will get, go to the principal room. And he is so happy. You can see it in his face that how he is happy to leave.
Oh my God.
That is a good example. So what happened is the reason he's doing that, the function of the behavior, why that's happening is he wanted to escape. Every time teacher says, get out, you are rewarding that behavior. And he does it more and more often. Right?
So you're just reinforcing
You're reinforcing the behavior because for teacher is looking at how the behavior looks like.
Yeah, and what it means to her.
That's it. But we look at why the behavior is happening, what happens before the behavior, how the person is learning the behavior, and how we can modify the behavior, how that person can escape still, but in an alternative manner.
Okay.
In a manner. So that's how then ABA also looks at how the applied ABA, the applied refers to socially significant behavior, and behavior refers to the observable and measurable behavior, and the analysis means that there's a functional relationship. That means you can demonstrate that your intervention is causing the change in the behavior. Then it has to have other dimensions to meet. For example, it has to be technological, it has to be very well written, it has to be a social validity. That means the people in the society have to accept what you're doing. It has to be based on literature, it has to be based on science. It has to be generalization. That means not only in the classroom, it has to happen outside the classroom as well. You have to meet all of these criteria for ABA to be successful and to be called a
successful
ABA. Yeah. But I don't think any of the interesting part is that I have met behavior therapists, people calling themselves a behavior therapist. And I always bring this topic and I ask them, can you please give me, somehow bring this topic, can you please give me one example of negative reinforcement? And I get this, I studied ABA a long time ago, I can't remember.
What?
So the reinforcement is the core aspect of ABA.
Right.
Core aspect of ABA. It's like going to a cardiologist and cardiologist telling you, I don't know where's the aorta because it's been too long ago when I became a...
Do you know where that is?
I'm a cardiologist.
But most people know somewhere here. It is like, it is exactly like that. It is like, going to a kidney specialist and he doesn't know where the clutching tube is located, right? Because it's been too long. I mean, if you ask a very specific technical aspect of it, and then I understand. But you can't, if you don't know the main aspect of that thing, then you call yourself a behavior therapy and you're practicing behavior therapy.
What you're applying and then practicing is not
That's surely a crime, right?
I mean,
The people in Sri Lanka are like this. So if they think you are a teacher, they respect you. That is there in Sri Lanka. So when somebody comes and say, I'm a behavior therapist, parents they respect you. They don't, in ABA, our ethical guidelines is if the customer comes and asks you for your credential, we have to provide. We have to show when my license expires, these are my qualifications. In Sri Lanka, people will never go and ask for your credential because they have this
Faith
power
in you
dynamics. Yeah,
almost.
power dynamics. You know, you are a doctor, you say, you have to listen to what the doctor says.
What
The
you
doctor's
say
like,
goes.
Without
I'm the doctor.
questioning it. or
That
questioning
dynamics is
credibility.
here, especially if you come from abroad. And I get really, it really gets onto my thing. It's like parents would come and tell me, the doctor told me, like, who's the doctor here? Like that kind of narrative, you know, that thing is there in Sri Lanka. Like, you know, if somebody says I'm the therapist, you just listen to the person, right? But not some people might go and do their homework and they change the therapist. Most people, they don't know. They don't know. They just say, this is what it is.
Okay, so to me, there are two problems. One is that the ABA that you're talking about is not the ABA that is being practiced by these so-called behavioral therapists. That's one issue, and we don't question their credibility, and they apply the wrong method and expect results, which doesn't work. But another angle to that, at least I think from our research, and we've talked about this, ABA and its origins itself are very controversial, aren't they? I mean, you spoke about this a little while ago, but a lot of it had to do with punishment. I mean, we saw things about electrical shocks and like preventing them from eating food and water. So what is the clash? Because, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've seen that like countries like Ireland have said that ABA does not uphold the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Did you say Ireland?
Yes, Ireland's Joint Committee on Disability Matters.
When did that happen?
In 2023.
Now, the Irish Psychological Society, they have a separate division of applied behavior analysis now.
Really? Okay, so so the issue is that people just don't understand what real ABA is.
Yeah. So what happened is that historically, what you're telling is correct. So scientifically, what they did would work using punishment procedures. Some cases it works. But then again, there's no regulation, there's no ethics.
Yeah.
Nobody, you can't complain that to somebody else. That's why these regulatory bodies came into effect. Okay. Now, internationally, there are three main regulatory bodies. Behavior Analysis Certification Board, International Behavior Analysis Organization, and CABA. And then these regulatory bodies, they have an ethical guideline. And in the ethical guideline, you have the procedures, you have to start, one of the ethical guidelines, you always do the least intrusive procedure, reinforcement. Even before the reinforcement, you go to antecedent procedure. What that means is you try to see if you can stop the behavior from happening in the first place. Only if that doesn't work, you go to consequence strategies, reinforcement, reward the good behaviors. Punishment strategies nowadays, nobody uses when they're using if they have to use a punishment strategy, they usually use the negative punishments, for example, taking your remote control, for example, right? We have strict ethical guidelines that like whatever you mention, you will be struck out of your regulatory body registry. But then the issue, what happened is that the autistic people who went through that horrific abuse, I would call experience. Yeah. Now they grew up and now they are speaking bad against.
Yeah, exactly.
ABA. Now they're saying, ABA did this to me. Yes. But actually, that's not ABA in the sense, that's not the science. That in ABA, one of the criteria is social validity. The society also have to think, an average person must think that procedure is good, right? If it doesn't have social validity, then it's not ABA. And the science works. That's why you have to have the regulatory body, and so if there's any problem, you can go and complain. Okay, this happened. So, like, in my procedure, the maximum thing that I have done is that to take the star that I was given, I'll take the star away. You get a star, and then you run away, I'll take the star away, right? That is what that most things that I have done is I take the star away. So now the people have this, ABA is strict and restrictive, and it's no longer. We have moved away from that. Now, if you make it more interesting, most of the states in the U.S., by law, most of the states if you have an autistic person, the insurance company have to provide coverage for ABA. What makes it more interesting, they have to get a coverage for 25 hours a week in ABA. Speech therapy, usually 1 hour or 2 hours, depends on the states. Occupational therapy is 1 hour, 2 hours. is the ABA, that's 25 hours a week, up to 25 hours you can claim from an insurance company. Insurance companies, they're not going to pay if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, because the states, they regulate it. Every single state, they regulate, they have a very strict criteria. In Sri Lanka, the issue is that, I'll give you another example. That when I was living in London, there was a lady contacted me asking whether I could be trained in ABA under me.
Under you.
And I was in London. I said, I can't do the 24/1 person. When I come to Sri Lanka, I will see if I can do it. So when I came to Sri Lanka, she said, she's already working in a hospital as a behavior therapist. And I said, where did you get your training? He said, you don't, you just apply. And if you claim that, it's like you claim, okay, I'm taking this ABA job. It's like, in certain countries, unfortunately, like that, one of my colleagues in Maldives mentioned, Maldives is very similar. They said they didn't have a kidney specialist, and one family doctor was special interest in kidney, and then later on he became interested in kidney, and after he became a kidney specialist. Same way, absolutely the same way. Like if you're interested in ABA, then you are a behavior therapist.
Wow.
If you have a psychology degree, and if you go to apply to any hospital saying you are a behavior therapist, they will give you the job.
So all you need is a psychology degree.
Yes.
They'll
give you the job.
Oh my God.
That's dangerous.
It is very dangerous, because now the question in my head is it more dangerous to have no specialist? Because I wonder, I mean, you were undiagnosed when you were living in Sri Lanka. Your doctor.
Some hospitals may have a different criteria. They may have changed recently. I have tried some of the hospitals, and they would give it to you. Yeah.
Wow.
So when you object to that, do they say anything? What is the rationale?
I don't go.
Because if something goes wrong,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, like who's held accountable?
yeah.
But I guess that's not something you can tangibly show, right? The failure of ABA would then go back to
How
the
do
child.
you prove that something
Exactly.
goes wrong in a thing? They will say, well, the child is autistic, that's why it happened.
Exactly, yeah, they would blame the child.
What is this PTSD that comes out of that unregulated behavior therapy, and then that is proof of bad ABA?
But even if you go to a doctor and this happened, what do you do in Sri Lanka? What happens?
In Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Fair
What
enough.
happens in Sri Lanka? There's no consequence.
So I keep wondering, moving to Canada, was that a conscious choice? Was that a medical decision, or simply?
Now, it was in 1996. I was coming out of a war zone at the time.
Right.
And I was arrested in Dalita Maliga for speaking in Tamil.
Oh my
I was put
God.
into jail, and the police came and say, "Are you Demile?" And I said, "Yes." And come, and he put me in jail.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was during the wartime, and
So
now
you
things
moved
have
to
changed.
Canada out of.
Fear, and my
Right.
family was really worried that
Fair enough.
Yeah.
something is going to happen.
So that is insane. I mean, that like timeline and sequence of events. Because if you'd not moved to Canada,
Yeah, I
perhaps
would
you
have-
would have never been diagnosed at all.
And also that I wouldn't have produced what I am doing right now in Sri Lanka as well.
Can we talk about that? Because you told me in the beginning that moving to Canada, moving away from the sun, it helped you. But then you actually made the conscious decision to come back to an island that has the sun 365 of the year. So why did you make that decision?
So for me, I always wanted to have a school that I never had, because I went to different schools and I have many degrees, and I always learned a lot, and I kind of figured that if you have this particular system, this particular model that will make people independent, that was my dream. And then I was on a holiday to Sri Lanka. That I was working towards that dream, getting my psychology degree and doing a degree in inclusive education, doing another degree in. I was working towards the dream. When I came here and I met my wife on holiday, and I fell in love, and I came back to marry, and then on my wedding day, there was a child or an adolescent, I would call. He was sitting right in front of me, and he had this unusual eye contact. And then I looked at my wife and I said, what is the story with this person? And my wife said, he has autism. I was like, it's like, what? And then it's like, because it's happening in the countryside in Jaffna. And I was thinking, how do you even know? Like,
How do you get diagnosed?
Who diagnosed
Yeah,
it?
how do you?
Yeah.
Then after in the wedding, when you have socialized, I went to the father and asked, like, how did you know that? He said, oh, this doctor from this hospital diagnosed him. I said, how did he diagnose? And he said, he gave an IQ test, right? Then that stuck with me. So I came from Jaffna to Colombo. I went to see the doctor as a patient, and I told him, I'm coming from London. I want to bring my cousin who has autism. Please come and tell me how does the diagnosis work. And he was really open with me. He said he doesn't know much about autism, but he learned IQ test, how to administer the IQ test. So in psychology, there are two different it's not psychology, I mean, in developmental disorders, there's one called autism, there's one called intellectual disability disorder. They're totally different conditions. Two different things. In the intellectual disability disorder, you use IQ test. You assess the intelligence, but it's not just intelligence. There are other criteria you have to meet. Autism, you don't assess the intelligence. It's nothing to do with the intelligence per se. It's the different ways that nerves are developing. And he said, if you do bad on if they do bad on the IQ test, I give them the autism diagnosis. He was really open. He didn't, because I was from abroad. And so I told him I'm coming from abroad. For him, he thought that I'm not going to go and tell anybody outside because I'm not a Sri Lankan. Otherwise, people would say, like, don't go,
Yeah.
So I came, I distinctly remember this conversation. I took my phone out and I called my wife and told them I'm coming back to this country sooner than I thought.
I mean, so how do you have doctors in this country who use IQ tests to determine whether a child has autism? Were they taught to do that? Is that a method they just apply on their own?
I think I may be wrong. My understanding is that in the other countries, that if you become a doctor, you have to do continuing professional development and keep CPD, and you have to update it, show proof, and to show what is the current research, and in order to renew a license. But I'm not 100% sure. But I think I was told by somebody in Sri Lanka, it's not like that. After 40 years of practice, you don't have to read any literature, and you're still a doctor. But I have to double check on that, but that's what I was told by another doctor told me that.
Wow, that's insane.
That is insane because since you graduated, there are a lot of things change over time.
Exactly.
So you have to be up to date with what is the current research. Then that is a fundamental issue, and it overlaps with the political and the independence of the practice of the medicine, and it's not a topic that I like to touch on.
That's fair, but I find that very concerning because from what I know, lawyers, accountants, all of those groups of people are required to do CPD and continuously show
I have to double check with that. This is what somebody told me, but I have to. I don't want to give wrong information, but I was told that one of the family physicians told me that once you don't have to, not like in the UK. That's what they told me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Treehouse then. So the idea came to you, or rather the conviction to follow through with that idea came to you during that time. But I know that launching the school was in around 2022, and 2022 in Sri Lanka was a very different time. I mean, it was crazy. It was peak economic crisis. What was that experience like, setting up a school in that environment?
What happened was during the time, I heard a lot of stories. I was getting ready to come to Sri Lanka. I heard a lot of stories in Sri Lanka where parents were struggling because there was a backlog of kids born just before COVID, and they are 2 years now. They think something is different about the child. They can't go and get the diagnosis because they are on a lockdown. Then in the UK also there becomes a backlog because you can't get a diagnosis. Then medical professionals, they were leaving the country because are coming out of the lockdown, and after that it's a financial crisis. People who had the means, they start leaving the country. but I always wanted to come back to Sri Lanka. I always thought that something to rebuild the country, and there's always, I had hope here in Sri Lanka. So I came and I had sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is where you had to wear a mask when you go to sleep. I'm surprised this is not many people.
Sleep disorders of my
Okay,
own.
I have sleep apnea. So I came here with the sleep apnea when there was sometimes no electricity and I can't even go to sleep because you need that to wear the mask. Otherwise, you can't. Five times in 1 minute, my brain wakes me up. So you can't really literally fall asleep. So I came here, and most of my students were international students, and they just left the country. And then I'm like stuck with this. But my brain works very different to other people's brain. When people see a chaos, I see opportunity. I see a different pattern. And what I saw was that I see a big feature of Treehouse. I see a big feature of Treehouse. And I can see that a lot of people will come to Sri Lanka because as a chartered educational assessor and a chartered behavior psychologist, I know that I can go to like middle of Africa and I can still survive. Then I knew people will come and see me regardless of where I go. I don't have problem with getting clients. So I thought that if you are in Sri Lanka, then you're not only addressing Sri Lankan population, you also, it's Indian Ocean, you have Maldives and Andaman Islands. Probably they will go to India. And then there are other areas as well. So I was not worried about that. I was worried that I knew there was a temporary situation, the Aragalaya, it's called. It was so when the Aragalaya finished, it started to slowly pick up. And it's interesting that we never ever advertise anywhere that we have a vacancy.
Really?
And when we opened it, we advertised, and that's the only time. Once it's open, we never advertise anywhere. Still, we never advertise. Yeah, we have a waiting list of people. We never
much
advertise.
demand. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. We never advertised. So it was now the British High Commission has approved our school. This is the only special needs school they have approved in Asia. And the Maldivian government asked us many times to open a branch there in the Maldives. And we have functional skills as a curriculum. This is the only school in Sri Lanka to use functional skills. It's equivalent to GCSE.
Okay.
But it's UK approved by Ofqual, and it's really good for the special needs children because it focuses on how you can apply what you have learned, the application, rather than that wide angles of triangles, and rather than it's just like if you learn maths, how you're going to apply maths to live your life independently. And my approach to education is a holistic approach. I look at the child as a whole. And in order for the child to be independent at some point, what the child needs, in order to get that, what is the prerequisite skill? In order to get that, what is the prerequisite skill? In order to get that, what is the prerequisite skill? And where the child is, and I work towards from here to get there. So what I do is I wanted to make sure all these children go to the mainstream school without any support. That's what I focus on. But there are certain circumstances it's not possible. When the child comes, it's in a severe case, and you think the child is more likely, and also depends on the age, especially if they are 14 and 15 years of age.
That's older than...
Older the children, then, we can't do magic and make them go to mainstream school, especially if severe.
But if you identify it early on, that makes it easier to help out. So that's crazy because you told me that you were 18 and the doctor said that there's nothing much you can do at this point. So maybe if you had been diagnosed younger.
But I think also I'm on a milder to moderate at the level. But the thing is, when you see me, you see a different version of me. But the challenges that I have is I don't really talk about it outside. So my wife would know that when I have to wear a specific earplug from Germany or French, I can't really pronounce that. But then I'm really so sensitive to any sound, even when I'm sleeping. A neighbor's phone vibrating could wake me up.
Wow.
My kids, they would know until I wake up. They will never walk anywhere. They will just be very quiet because extremely sensitive. That's just one thing. I would start spacing inside my apartment and things have to be done. And I go into a pattern of eating the same food every day. So there will be fish, curry and carrot, sambal, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Wow.
Right. There was one incident I tell this, now I think it's a joke, but at the time it wasn't a joke. The very first time I came to the Treehouse from my apartment, and this was, there was a street where the two-way street became one-way street.
Okay.
And there was about 50 meters is one-way street. So the two guy went through that one-way street in a wrong way the first time.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even know that it was the wrong way. And then every time I tell the tuk to go through that route, but you're going the wrong way. I know it's the wrong way. And then one day, one tuk guy said, no, I'm not going to go through the wrong way. You know what I did? I told him, if the police stop you, I'll pay the fine. Because it came to a point that it's one of the characteristics of autism is insistent on the same thing. So you are eating the same food, you ask the same question, things has to be done in a certain way. So you have to take the same route. But it's funny that I have taken different routes, different places, but on that particular route, my brain was, as soon as I get up and I go outside, I get this anxiety. If he's going to take me to a different route, something started to trick me, and that made me really annoyed. And there's one time, one guy said no, and he turned and he went through where he's supposed to go. My heart started to beat. I came home. I didn't tell anything to my secretary. I was really angry, and I was seeing patients, and I was really angry inside. I was burning, boiling. The next day, it was all okay. And the next day, when the tuk came, I don't even look at the tuk and where he's going, and I was like, I don't care. And what I learned is that everybody in the spectrum is so unique, and the challenges are so unique, and also the joy you get is also so unique as well, equally. So that I will never go on to say that autistic people are like that. I represent autistic people. I will never make that claim. But some people go on to make that claim because everybody is so unique how this.
And that's a huge misconception here, isn't it? I think the first misconception is that being neurodivergent, it's not something that you go to the doctor to fix and then suddenly you're okay, you wake up the next day and everything's gone. It's a process. It's something you live with even as an adult, which I don't think a lot of Sri Lankans understand when they see it as a problem to fix.
The thing is that parents, when they come for consultation or admission, what's the last question they ask? So how long it will take to
fix my child?
Fix my kid.
Become normal?
That's
the last question you got. Like if I had actually like a $1 every time I get this question, right?
Could fund Treehouse.
Actually, I know I could fund this project. My going between. That's the last question. How long is it going to take you to become normal? So then you go back and I set the expectation correct because I don't want to mislead them. And I tell them that our objective is to make the child independent, not normal. It is, especially in Asia. I think in Europe it's much better. It's still there. It's better. But here it is the normal. People use the word normal quite often here. I don't like the word normal. And if I have to use the word normal for any chance, I also have to say, I don't like the word normal because I don't know what is normal, to be honest. I don't really like what is normal. Everybody has their own way of doing things and what is normal. And people may appear to be in a certain way, but when you actually meet them, everybody's deep inside, sometimes different.
Yeah.
Can we go back to, I'm kind of curious about the story you told us about the road and the tuk. So after the first time, the took guy basically told you, no, I'm going to do what I want. And then the next day, you didn't care what side the
No.
took went. So does that mean, so to this day, do you still,
I don't.
you don't care anymore?
I don't care anymore.
Is
After
that kind of a version of ABA in a sense too?
It is. I have noticed
Oh.
that with other children as well. With children, when I work in the children, the pencil has to be here. It has to be like straight. The pencil cannot be here. Then once I gradually put the pencil here, then after that, children
They're
it's
okay.
fine. It's okay. So not everyone,
Yeah.
but
okay.
some people are like, you know what, this is okay. Once that is, because I think what bothers me is the uncertainty how he's going to go. Then that was gone. Then I realized it doesn't really matter.
So it's the uncertainty aspect of anything that really,
Like not being in
Uncertainty,
control.
But that's what autistic people, parents, as a therapist, what we do is that when the child comes, we have a visual of how your schedule is going to go today to tell you this is what's going to happen.
What to expect.
What to expect. And also when children have a lot of autistic children have PDA, pathological demand avoidance. Okay, we ask them do this, they don't. But you said, do you want to do this or you want to do this? You
Give them a choice.
Then they say, yeah, I'll do this. Right. That also works with a lot of people as well, like your friends. Sometimes you tell them do this, they don't like it, but you just tell them, can you help me with this or can you help me with this? Then they feel like you have control. It's actually you don't really have a control. It's just the perception of illusion of control. And also with me, it really works because when somebody tells me to do something, I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I don't like it. And but my wife, what she does, if my wife thinks that I'm drinking too much, she will never say, don't drink too much. She'll say, can I get you another drink? She spells in a way, can I get you another drink? Then I know that she doesn't like it. Then I just like, probably, yeah, so it's okay, we can finish it now. But if she were to tell me, can I, stop drinking now? Then I would say, no, I want another drink.
She gives you the choice.
She instead of saying, I want to stop drinking, she would say, can I get you a drink? She will actually give me a drink.
If you
Then
said yes.
Yeah, but I know what this is her way of
that
saying.
means.
What I mean is that this is
Interesting.
time to stop. But then if it's a time is, for me, choice is important. If somebody gives me choice and also asking, what do you think about it? We have to do this. What do you think about it? And I was just like, yeah. But if somebody told me, this is how you're going to do it, I'll get through it.
Okay.
And what do you think about it? This is what we had to do, but what do you think about it? And I was like, yeah, sure, go on. That I find that because with certain people, I can really work well without any conflict because then it's like the way you communicate. So when children with autism, when we in the school, we don't have we train our therapists to provide choice. We always ask, what are the choice? What are you going to work for? That actually eliminate most of the challenging behaviors in the first place.
Okay.
That's what we call antecedent strategy. Before the behavior happens, how to eliminate it in the first place.
Okay. And I mean, Treehouse has been very successful, I would like to say, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but 100% of all of your graduates have ended up going into mainstream schooling or vocational training. But I guess to me, I'm trying to understand, how do you define success for a child that enters your school and leaves? Is that you equipping them with the right tools to live life as a person who is neurodivergent, or is it something else?
So when people come here, parents usually have an expectation. They've come from abroad and they come for 1 year and they usually think that I'm going to go there and fix my child and bring it back. They come with an expectation. So we set the expectation right. This is what's going to happen. This is what you're expecting. Most of the children would have an expectation of my child has to go to the mainstream school. So for me, and I might think, okay, it will take about 4 years. For some children, parents, normally they will pull the child before that date because they have to go back home and they may not complete our recommendation. If they follow our recommendation, then so far we were able to send 100% of the children to the mainstream education. So when children come here, say for example, we had a child from the Maldives who didn't go to school for 2 years. He stayed home and play video game for 20 hours a day or something like that, and even have things on his back because of the
sitting on the
on
chair.
this thing, yeah.
Oh.
So my objective is to gradually take the video game away from him and interact with other people and replace that dopamine and pleasure seeking from social interaction, and so he can go to mainstream school. So for me, the parents, for the parents and myself, we work together. So what in the best interest of the child, what is the outcome that we want? So in that particular case, the parents, I want the child to go to mainstream school. So for that child, okay, that is the outcome, that is the success. For some children, for example, parents would come and they would say, you know what, I want him to be toilet trained. He's like 9 years old, not toilet trained. But toilet training, so I can actually show you, I managed to toilet train my cat to use the commode within like 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Right? It took me 2 weeks to toilet. It's the first Sri Lankan cat to use
Your cat's doing appears
toilet train. Right? So toilet training, but I also I can toilet train a cat in 2 weeks. Then what can you do to a human? Do you understand? Yeah. So for parents, so once the I will see if I can find that video.
I forgot the question I had. I don't know if I want to see a cat. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
Question.
Okay. You can go on. You can ask me questions.
Okay.
I'll find it. I'll find it. Yeah.
Mine's with Unrelated now, but because you spoke about how parents from all over the world come down here to seek your advice, counseling, and your specialty. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think more than 80% of the students at your school are not from Sri Lanka. They're from all over the world. They're from the UK, Japan, Australia, Fiji, Russia. So they have families.
You have done your homework.
Thank you. But they relocate themselves and come to Sri Lanka. I mean, the norm here is that we relocate to countries like Australia, the UK, Canada, but you flipped it so that families actually come here. What's the story behind that?
I think it's word of mouth. So somebody recently called my secretary from China. So somebody from Dubai, somebody who came to Treehouse, went back to Dubai, and they talked to somebody from China, and they said, go to Treehouse. So she flew in from Hong Kong. They were in Hong Kong. They came in and they asked me for admission, and the child was with 18 years old, and you wouldn't fit in because we don't have. So that people, it's word of mouth. When parents, it's organic marketing, you can call it. If it works well, you would go and tell other people, right?
But why do they leave their countries and come to Sri Lanka in particular? Because I would think that some of these countries are developed countries, they're first world countries. Don't their own medical systems
Two things. One thing is ABA. ABA is still not regulated in many countries. Not regulated in many countries. So you have to, if you wanted to get a qualified ABA person in Japan and Singapore, they have very few. And when you have very few, it's really expensive. Because in Singapore, for example, but now they might have a university teaching ABA. You have to go abroad and study ABA and come back. So they're very expensive. So what we offer is 1/10 of the cost in London. But that's very expensive for locals.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
I was just going to ask you that.
So what we do is we have a model where we have a very high fee for foreigners, and our locals also pay very cheap. It's still very high. So what we do is if we were to charge 30,000 rupees a month, right? Then I say to you, oh, I want to do this, Murad. Can you please sponsor me? Nobody's going to help you. So if you have, I'm so confident with our school. We have a CJ, my assistant director. She's really good. Our therapists are good. So we are so confident that we set the price and people are they're willing to pay that price. So we take that money, we reinvest that money back into the community. We do autism awareness and training from all over, from the north to south, east to west, not only in Sri Lanka. So the mission and vision of the Treehouse is to have evidence-based treatment for autism all across the islands of the Indian Ocean. So I go to Andaman Islands and provide training in ABA.
Wow.
I have provided free training from the most northern part of a remote island in Maldives. And I crossed the equator and went to the most southern part of Maldives, and I have provided training there at our own cost. Where does that come from? It comes from the fees the parents pay. We charge a very high fee, so we can reinvest that money. So this project, for example, I'm the Merak right now I'm doing.
Yeah.
The cost right now, the estimate is like 15 million.
15 million Sri Lankan
rupees, 15 million, right? So we have about 6 million something on sponsorship.
Okay.
Who's sponsoring? Who's putting the money back? It's the Treehouse. So you can't really. People say, yeah, it's expensive. It's very expensive, but yeah, we reinvest the money back into the community, the community. Because I find that model, because I have been to more than 55 countries. You can't take one model from one country and apply it in a different everywhere. It doesn't work like that.
You have to adapt it.
You have to adapt it. And based on my qualification, I know this model will work in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
This model will work in Sri Lanka. So I can see it's working. So we do a scholarship for our local students. If they have siblings, we give scholarship. If one of the parent passes away, we give free tuition. Free tuition. And also our school is very small. We have like 28 students is our capacity.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
For 28 students, we have 35 teachers.
35?
Yeah. In addition to 35 teachers, we have speech therapists, we have massage therapists, we have special extracurricular education coordinator. To supervise these individuals, we have behavior analysts from abroad, from US and Philippines. I have to hire them and bring them here because there's no qualified person here who can supervise them. Yeah. So in order to have that level of support,
you have to charge a fee.
you have to charge more. Yeah.
Okay, but is there a long-term kind of plan for Treehouse to maybe increase the percentage of Sri Lankan children down the line for it to be?
My vision is to make sure at least Sri Lankan students would go free or at a very low cost.
Okay.
So in order to do that, the model that I'm exploring is gradually to expand the Treehouse so that we are in the process of collaboration with the different government where they can send the students to Sri Lanka because it's cheaper for them. So we can take that money and give it back to our locals. So in the long term, we are exploring how we could say, for example, it's a bigger, right now it's 28 students. See, imagine it's a big school. So the revenue that creates, we can actually invest that kind of money back into the community.
The population.
Yeah.
Is there a story behind the name Treehouse International?
When I was a child, I've always wanted a tree house. And I remember I would take my lunch and cry up, it's called custard apple. It's still custard apple.
Yeah,
we had a custard apple tree.
Yeah, okay.
I climb up the custard apple tree and I eat there
Oh,
at my lunch. And I always wished I had a tree house. Then when I was in Canada, I was doing some tutoring and I called my services Treehouse tutoring. So when I moved to the UK, it was registered as a Treehouse International.
Wow.
And then here, we actually have a small treehouse in Treehouse.
Really? That's so sweet.
So what does the day-to-day look like at the Treehouse? Is it very different from mainstream school, the day-to-day aspect of someone at Treehouse?
100% different from mainstream.
So then how do you then
reintegrate them into
reintegrate them into mainstream school, since that's the goal for most of these parents, I assume? So what does one thing the day-to-day look like, and how does the process into integration into mainstream work?
So everybody has a individualized education program. So the academics is part of it. Outside academics, social skills, independence, how to address the sensory needs. And in order to, some children, they can't even imitate, do this, they can't even imitate. So they can't learn if they can't imitate. So prerequisite skill for learning. So children, based on the child's ability and what the parents want, what is the best interest of the child, we have a target for the children, and we break the target into small teachable components using ABA. Then that is given to a behavior therapist to implement those targets. So it's like writing a behavior program, we call it. When you give a program, then the behavior therapists look at it, they know exactly what to do with this, what it's like.
So it's all customized
It's
to
everybody.
each.
And it's individual?
100%.
No classroom type.
If the children can be in a small setting, then we start individually. Then if the child can, concentrate and focus when there's another student, then we put them in 2 students. Then if they can focus 2, then we put them in 3 students. Then if they can do 3 students, then we go and say, does the child have a divided attention? For example, when you talk to the child, can they listen to you and still, if I say to take the book and turn to page 5, you take the turn to page 5 and still listen to what the teacher is saying. If you can come to that level, then we say, you don't have to be here anymore.
That's what, I guess your second question was, that's how they get trained to go back to mainstream
So
school.
we gradually
that makes
put the
sense.
children into a group setting. And then what we do is that we, in an afternoon, we have day school and afternoon school. In the afternoon school, most of the children, they go to mainstream school, most of the students, and then they come to you because they have some challenges in the classroom. We address only those challenges. So with those children who go to mainstream school, we put the day school students and see how these students are getting along.
They interact,
And we take data. What are the challenges they're having? What did the challenge? Say, recently we had an example when you put 3-4 students, the child started to just look away and just always looking away and what's going on because the teacher's not interacting directly with that. So we know what is the challenge the child is having when there's multiple students. So we address that challenge. How to address the challenge it could be through social stories, it could be through prompting, it could be reinforcement. We address those challenges. Then it could be even seating arrangement. Maybe you don't sit on this side, you sit on that side. Once that is all addressed, we tell the parents, you go. The parents sent us, recently, one of the doctors' child went to mainstream school and she sent me a beautiful message where how my son is getting all A's and B's at that mainstream school.
Wonderful.
It's really nice to hear that, when that particular child, I remember when I first went to assess the child, the mom was also scared of the child, and he would go inside and he would take his feces and throw all over, and this child who smashed the door and wouldn't even sit in one place. Now he sits in one place, he learns, he goes to he gets A's and B's. The mom is really happy about that.
Happy.
Yeah.
That's really heartwarming to hear. But do you also sometimes see the flip side of maybe they go back out after they've learned from you, and then maybe down the line there's a need for them to actually come back?
So when they leave the day school, what we recommend is that they go to mainstream school and they still come to afternoon school here for 2.
Okay. So it's not like a cold.
Yeah. So when afternoon school is going smoothly, then we say, now you don't have to come anymore. We gradually reduce the hours. So we don't tend not to. But sometimes parents, they don't follow our recommendation. They say, it's too much for him day school and after school. Then it's because they don't follow the recommendation. Then sometimes if it doesn't work, I said, please don't blame it me. Yeah. This is my recommendation. Yeah. So for that reason, now also we expect at the beginning, if we say, okay, the child has to, for afternoon school, you have to come here for 5 days a week. The parents say, no, I can only come for 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And then at the beginning, I allowed that. That's what the parents wanted to do. But then there's no meaningful change and improvement in the child. Then the parents say, oh,
it's not working.
It's not working at the Treehouse. And then we stopped it. It's like, this is a recommendation. If you can't do the recommendation, no, do something else. Because then you say, it's like blaming it on the ABA. The problem is the practice, same way that saying is oh, it's not working at the treehouse. It's like, no, it's like the recommendation was this, and you don't follow the recommendation. Yeah.
So there's another angle to it, isn't there? It's not just the child who is neurodivergent that comes to you that you need to work with. It's also the caregivers around that child that you have to work with. I mean, you were talking about your wife just a little while ago, and I would imagine those are things that she didn't know right away, and those are things she had to learn as she was with you. So I think, I mean,
She's learned a lot.
Exactly. So I would assume that even parents, even teachers, or anyone who is around a child, they're just not equipped to deal with those traits and those symptoms, and sometimes they do more damage. Especially, I think, with all the stigma in our population and how children are supposed to act normal, we do all the wrong things. How do you tackle that with the caregivers?
Yeah, the caregivers, sometimes I tell my colleagues tells me it's easier to deal with the children than caregivers. Sometimes, but some caregivers, on the other hand, you tell them exactly what to do, they will like really follow it, and they want to learn more, and they're also like a different range of caregivers you get. So what we do is that we regularly offer parent training, exclusive parent training. So that focuses on if they so that make sure what we do here and also what is also implemented. But also you will get some parents. It doesn't matter how many times you tell them, like they will. It doesn't go through. It doesn't go through. But then again, you will also get on the other side of the spectrum. You will see parents that they will want to see my slides and what I was teaching, and they will ask me questions, and then they want to learn about it. There are spectrum, and sometimes, like the parents would say, I will. What was it? She was saying, if you don't do this, then I'm going to send you out somewhere. You got something like she was saying. Then also she was complaining to me, the child is afraid of that. I said, the child is afraid of that because you're threatening him that if you don't do this. So parents are sometimes, they also learn the parenting from their parents and also what others are doing. And it's just like a trauma, and it's passed on through, I call it transgenerational knowledge, I call it, to explain. It's you learn something and then you think that's right because that's what your parents did. It doesn't make it right because your parents did. Science would tell you a different story.
Do you see that a bigger problem in Sri Lanka than other places in the world? Because we do have a very traditional kind of culture and social life in our countries. Do you think you battle with it more here?
It is more here, yeah, definitely it is more here. In London and Canada, especially, people are more inclined to read, and they will read parenting books, and here it's not so much. It's more like parents are very competitive in like what my neighbor's child is doing. That is really important in Sri Lanka. What my neighbor's child is doing. Sometimes they say, like I say, this child has to be, it's a moderate to severe form of autism. The child needs substantial support. But for the parent, they're more happy if the child goes to mainstream school with a shadow teacher but doesn't learn anything. But then I tell the parents, I just opened the blind spot for them, and I said that, so basically you're telling me that you're more happy the child is not learning anything, but then they go to mainstream school. But it appears as if
they're learning something.
Then only they start thinking. Until that time, they have a blind spot. They think, oh, my child is going to mainstream school. That for them, it means the child is doing better because he's going to mainstream school.
Okay. But that's like just ignoring the problem altogether, putting your head in the sand, isn't it? Because the problem doesn't go away.
Are the kids aware of the neurodivergency? Or do the parents try to kind of keep it secret?
Hidden?
No, most of the time at the Treehouse. Are you talking especially in Treehouse or outside?
Yeah, let's talk about Treehouse.
In Treehouse, most of the children are not at the stage where they are
able to comprehend it.
To comprehend and understand.
That you're young.
Yeah. But there was the level of difficulties.
Okay.
Because if the child is not so severe or moderate to severe, they wouldn't come to Treehouse. They will probably stay home, and they want to. If it comes to there, because it is the challenges,
so you get
the extreme cases.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have moderate to severe, I would say. And also there are some time the child is mild, but the parents know that there were cases there, they have 2 child with special needs, and they came to Sri Lanka because of 1 child. And they saw the progress, and they take the other child from London, also send it here, who was going to mainstream school and sending to Treehouse. That also happens as well.
So what does that do to the kids that are, say, mild, you said? They are aware of it, to an extent at least, that they have some sort of neurodivergency.
It depends on the age as well. I mean,
yeah,
depends on the age. There were some children are aware of it, definitely.
Does that help them being aware of it?
I think the children are, it depends on the context, because some children, they know that being different is bad. They learned that behavior, being different is bad. So when they come to the Treehouse, they might say, hey, why am I going to this school? These children are like here, like I don't belong here. But some children are not like that. Some children, they feel like this is where they belong. Some children, they're not even aware of what is going on around. They're different. Some children, parents would tell me, please don't. They will tell us beforehand, messages, and tell us, please don't tell my child this is a special needs school.
Wow.
They would actually, when they come for consultation, they will say, please don't tell my child this is a special needs school. I told them, I'm going to see an uncle.
An uncle.
So then, like, they don't know you're, like, they would tell me, like, the child is not stupid. The child comes here inside, he knows, oh, cool, this is not...
obviously not an uncle.
But I'm very open-minded, and I joke around and they get calm.
Okay, understood. I actually want to talk to you about Merak and the project that you're doing, because you've told us, I think, because if we're talking about caregivers and stigma and all the misconceptions, I think one of the ways to battle that is definitely more awareness. And I understand the Merak is a charitable arm that focuses a lot on autism awareness and training. So could you tell us a bit about that?
So when I came to Sri Lanka, what I realized is that autism awareness was a huge problem. One specific example that stuck to my head was early childhood education professor with a 17-year-old child came and saw me, and when I asked what is wrong with this child, when I said it was autism, he was like, is this autism? Like he was like shocked. For me, I'm thinking, are you serious? The early childhood education specialist, and he said, you're not worried about, you're not even aware of that. So, especially if you go into a countryside, you can go into. I was in Jet Wing Hotel once, and the waiter was talking to another customers, and then the waiter told them in Tamil, oh, your child is talking, and my child is 4 years old. He's not talking. He's not responding to me. He's flapping his hand. And like typical autistic symptom. Oh, I'm really happy to see your child is talking. And he's working in a Jet Wing is like four-star hotel. I don't know. Exactly. You're working there, and I would think that you would get some sort of exposure. No. So what I have created is charity called Merak. And Merak is a Serbian word that cannot be translated into any other language. So it's a unique word. So I thought everybody in the spectrum is unique. So I
like a language that can't be understood.
So if you try to translate, it means great pleasure from simple things. Autistic individuals are like that. I think sometimes some children our children, they actually want to hold a leaf, and they're so happy with this leaf. And then the word, when I heard first time heard the word Merak, I like psycholinguistics, really about how psychology of the language works. And then I thought Merak sounds like autistic children. And then we had 1,600 people came in 2023, 2 years ago, had the largest autism awareness event. We had done it differently. Instead of barbecuing and walking around, we cleaned the entire stretch of Mount Lavinia Beach. The reason I planned it that way is that if you just have autism awareness, you know who comes to autism awareness? Parents of children who have autistic children, right? So I thought I'm going to clean the beach, and a lot of people would come to clean the beach. Then I said, thanks for coming.
By
Now,
the way,
by the way,
it's an autism.
by the way, here, have some food. Have some food, and this is what autism is.
That's brilliant.
So I call this model Inverdia. I wrote an article about it recently, Inverdia, how to put nature into autism awareness. So I found 1,600 people came, and after the event, as a social scientist, I always go back into the effect and what is the meaningful impact that had. Then I talk to people who organize everyone. What went right, what went wrong. Consistent message throughout. We had quantity, a lot of people came. The message did not go through. I thought, then I started there. Then one day, I was in London and I was watching TV and I saw Sri Lanka had the tallest Christmas tree, Guinness World Record. And then I was thinking, you are showing a Christmas tree in a BBC, you're showing a Christmas tree in a BBC. So I thought, my friend later on called me and said, Sri Lanka was featured in CNN in New York because you had a Guinness World Record.
Yeah.
Then I came back and I was talking to media about autism awareness. You know what media told me? That in order to cover autism awareness, we had to make it interesting. If it's not interesting, we can't cover it. And I said, well, how do I make autism awareness interesting? So we had a 21 months exactly, I counted last night, 21 months consultation with the Guinness World Record, how to make this interesting. And what we are doing is that we are building the longest sensory board in the world here in Colombo. So each part of the board is being made by different organizations, from the hospitals to universities, embassies, parents. But we wanted to make sure that the objective is autism awareness. In order to get to that, we put art as a component. I'll show you how that means. So
Yes, please do.
We have some boards here for me. Let me show this board right here. Right here. Let me start
Can
with
I
this
help
board.
you?
Yeah, let me start this board. Right. So this board. So what we did, I'm also concerned about the environmental sustainability.
Yeah.
We actually cleaned the
beach.
We cleaned the beach and then we took the recycled plastic and we wanted to use the recycled plastic to make the sensory item and make the longest sensory board. And this board, one of the parents made, is actually, these are rubbish they collected from
the beach.
From the beach. These are rubbish they collected from the beach. They power this tactile feeling, and it's interactive. These are interactive and it's tactile feeling to tell a message about sustainability and why is it important to not to pollute the environment. So each board has a message. There's a message associated with each board. And I want to show a few more boards. And
Yes,
some of the boards are more
please do.
interesting than the other. And I designed this board.
Oh, gosh.
So this is a nerve cell, neuron, and it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. So I put the colors of autism here.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's the Interesting.
So this provides this tactile sensation, this interactive,
Oh, shit.
right?
Oh, damn.
They're interactive and they're made from foam, and this is also tactile. You can touch it.
Oh, that's so cool.
So what the message here, what I wanted to send is it's a neuron. It's a neuron is developing differently.
Okay.
It's developing neurodevelopmental disorder, neurodiversity. It's developing differently. There's autism color. And this is, the children have social communication. So that's the big year. Then they have repetitive and restricted behavior. There are 4 categories. And then these gears, they work together to control other neurons and how the social interaction and this repetitive restrictive behavior, they interact with each other. That's why the gears, they communicate to send the message, and that's how the symptom of autism manifests.
Okay.
So it says autism reflects differences in how the nervous system develops and communicates. So it's not a deficit, it's just differences.
So the idea is to teach a concept through this board.
So sensory board is traditionally children usually touch and feel.
Yeah.
So when you get nervous, sometimes people touch
Fidget.
something, you
Yeah,
fidget.
yeah.
So then children with autism, they when they get nervous and overwhelmed, they might interact. Now the sensory board has actually evolved over time, become more commercial, and they're calling it sometimes busy board, and there are different variations. So the idea is that in this one, I'm also trying to educate the public as to what is autism. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder, and also make it artistic. This is the first time in history that the sensory board are made artistically.
Statistically, and that's what they're.
It's just randomly, there's no painting, randomly they just attached all these things. So we wanted to make it interesting. So if it's interesting, if it's like randomly you attach this thing and you're not going to come and see it. It's like, what is-
exactly.
yeah. The interesting part is because it's art. So then what happens is people just come and do this project, the artwork, that's not because they're interested in autism. They just wanted to be part of the artwork.
Be part of the artwork and
So-
the Guinness World Record, I'm sure.
And they're sure. So what happened was, let me put that. What happened, oops, there you go.
Oh, that's my favorite. There's a mermaid.
Yeah, this mermaid was made by the Maldivian Ministry of Education.
Oh.
So what they're trying to say is this mermaid is swimming up, and the dolphins are swimming closer to the mermaid to show connection, and different zippers show that the children experience, the sensory experiences are different. So that's why they have different sizes of the zippers here. So this medicine Maldives and different.
The flag.
The flag, you see, yeah.
That is so cool. So how long is the soundboard for it to be in Guinness World Record?
It has to be more than 50 meters, but
More
we
than
are aiming for 60 meters.
Okay, just to be on the safe side.
So that will be on the side. And I have one more board.
Yes.
Here. This is an interesting board.
I love this.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's gorgeous.
So these plastic you see here, this plastic you hear, this plastic and this plastic, you know where they come from?
I'm assuming the ocean.
Yeah, we took the ocean plastic and recycled them. And so some of them are made from recycled ocean plastic, some of them are naturally sourced. And also sending a message, not just about autism awareness, but also environmental sustainability, community engagement, and also the keys. It's very interactive. So children with autism, so sensory board is now it's became more interactive. So it's like a fidgeting basically.
cool.
Yeah.
It's like fidgeting. And I wanted to also highlight the. Do you want that?
No. Just making
I wanted to highlight that the invisible sensory struggle children have, I wanted to make it visible. So I wanted to tell the world that children with autism, or people with autism, we always say children, people with autism have sensory struggle, and I want people to know these are struggles. But at the same time, I got a lovely message from the president of the Irish Psychological Society showing solidarity with the Sri Lankans for the project, and she said, it's a challenge and also it's overwhelming joy as well, because sometimes this sensory experience that I have that other people cannot have, I feel much better in a nice way. But there are other times it could be
Very
painful.
overwhelming,
and painful. It's differently processed basically, rather than a deficit.
Okay.
More deficit than different. But it is sometimes it's more painful. For me, it's more painful than joy. But then other people, kids were just looking through just the corner of the eyes would just, they get, then they start and like doing like this and getting the visual sensation.
Right.
So every child is different.
Yeah. So would you say like the main objective of the event is autism awareness, but just accomplished through very unique and creative means?
Yeah. So it is autism awareness. So the interesting thing is that autism awareness traditionally, people who know about autism or people who have children with autism, they go there.
Okay.
Now, people who know nothing about autism, they come for art. And there was one person, he was standing on my office, he looked outside and he looked at all the children and he said, Doctor, everybody in the autism, are they different? I said, yes, it's a spectrum, they are different. And he said, my nephew who is a 4-year-old, not talking, walking on the toes, not making eye contact, what does it mean? I said, these are classic autism symptoms. Then only he was like started to cry and he's like, I would have never came I would have never known this because if it hadn't come. Wow. And then some of the people, they've been reaching out to people, hard to reach communities, I would call. People who will normally not go to these awareness campaigns. They go into this, they come from these communities, they do the artwork, they take a photo, and they're so proud and they post on social media that they're part doing this autism awareness. So they have friends in that community, and that will reach them.
It's a domino effect.
And then they call us and say, "Can we also come and do some art?" And then they go and start post it there. So that I really love the fact that it's reaching into the hard-to-reach community. One of the objectives of Merak to make sure that at least one person in each household to know what is autism is. So this is, I'm sure to what extent that's going to have that impact, because it's a Guinness World Record and people will hear like sensory board and then people will Google sensory board. Once you Google, there will be autism reference there. Then they're like, what is autism? Yeah. I think that's when, because if they go and say, can I talk to you about autism? Sorry, I don't have time. So now you have this opportunity to go and read at your home, at your own space. That opportunity is there. That's what I love about this project.
Wow, that's brilliant. You just found a way to get people to get curious about autism and neurodivergence. It's very unique. But I mean, since we are talking about autism awareness, what would you say is, I guess, the most dangerous kind of pieces of misinformation or misconceptions about, yes, autism, but also the community of mental health and mental disorders as a whole?
I think there are two things, especially in autism, there is the misconception in Sri Lanka, unfortunately, is some people believe, including some doctors believe, they told me in private, they told me that autism is caused by vaccine. Even some doctors told me, like they argued with me, cardiologists argued with me. The reason is how I like to explain that very clearly. It's very important for people to know where that comes from. So if I were to ask you, right, if I were to tell you, your age makes the petrol price go up, what would you say to me?
Your age?
Makes the petrol price go up.
My age. So as I get older, the petrol, that's
What's
just
the
correlation.
Yeah. Sure.
So people, what they do is when they see a correlation, they think it's a causation. So what happens is this: 15% of the autistic children, they have recursive autism. So between the age of 1.5 and 3.
Meaning?
That means they develop without any challenges and then they stop speaking.
Okay.
So
without any challenge, they're talking, they have words, they're looking at you saying bye, then all of a sudden they're not looking at you, they're not speaking, all the speech is gone.
So they're okay
so it's
when
like
they're
triggered
gone.
by something at some point, and then
No, it's already the nervous, the nervous system genes is already pre-programmed that it's going to happen at that age.
Oh,
It's like puberty has a timeline set in it. We have a puberty at a certain time. This puberty is going to happen.
That's crazy. Okay.
Right? So it's already set in that it's going to happen. There are multiple factors involved in it, but genetic factors also, it's already set in that. So we also know that people who did not have vaccinations, like Mennonite communities in the US, where there are communities, live like in 1600. They were black and they go on
Primitive.
horses.
Yeah.
I don't like the word primitive. Yeah,
But-
they go on
okay.
horses. They don't go to. They don't rely on medical services. They don't walk the car. Nothing. They don't go to doctors. They also have regressive autism. So if it is, so what happens is that between the age of 1.5 and 3, you have vaccine. Then you have
Autism.
regression.
Yeah.
And they say, you know what? Oh my God! I had my vaccine. Then regression happened. But
Must be caused by-
it must be caused by that. Then to make it worse, then Wakefield,
Wakefield, yeah.
he went and made a fake
Study.
a doctor in the UK, and published it's caused by autism. Now that research is retracted. His license is all his friends and colleagues who retracted it, saying, no, this research is fake. And then parents wanted to know and have a
Why?
closure, like something. They always asked me, like, why, right? So they wanted to, so for them to pinpoint this, it makes it easier for them, I think. So I know like very well-respected doctors, they, in confidence, they say it's caused by autism. And I was like, you kidding me? Like, out of all these, we have more than 1,000 research analyzed.
So they're not very respectable doctors in that case, right?
I mean, in their field.
Yeah.
But people are allowed to have their personal opinion.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That is their opinion, and they say,
So scary.
and
So at what age does, so you mentioned 3 to 4, regressive autism comes into play around those ages?
1.5 to 3 is normal, but then sometimes it could be 1, sometimes it can be even after the age of 3, but normally around the age of 2, and only around the age of, you have the MMR vaccination.
So
But-
the timelines coincide, and so they think the vaccine
So
causes
it can't happen after, say, age of 10, age of 15, it's not
It's
possible.
a neurodevelopmental disorder.
Right.
Neurodevelopmental means when the brain is developing. So usually for autism, it's around the age of 2, 3 we're looking at. But usually during the childbirth to after the childbirth, that's when neurodevelopmental, before the age of 12. So but autism, we diagnose it by the age of 2. Sometime it can be, if it's a complex cases, it might take 3, 4 years. But normally around it doesn't happen later on.
Is it genetic?
Largely genetic. So
Really?
we have about 100 different genes. They interplay with environmental factors. So it's not completely caused by genetics. It's an interplay of environmental factors. So we have identified some environmental factors, such as the maternal age. The older you are when you have a child.
Oh, shit.
Don't worry. Then maternal stress.
Right.
Maternal stress, and then pollution, certain pollution, infection during childbirth, certain medication parents take during childbirth. But again, now the scientists, we believe it's not just because you're stressed because during the pregnancy, doesn't mean the child is
Yeah,
going
of
to
course.
You have to have that
factor.
predisposition for that gene to happen as well. And also there's mutation. Hundreds of genes are there interplaying to, causing autism.
So what if you have the gene, but the environmental factors don't really trigger it? Can you just
can
never
it stay
be
dormant
You
in
can
that sense?
pass it on as well.
Oh, you cannot.
Right.
Even if it's dormant within you, you have a child, you can pass it on and can be active.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so going back to the stigmas, that means, vaccinating your child can cause autism is a huge misconception. Then
Yeah.
are there similar? I mean, that's ridiculous. But are there other similar
Things that could
pieces
trigger
of
it?
misinformation? Or
You mean trigger regression?
Yes.
No, regression is not triggered by vaccination.
No. Are there other things outside of? I mean, vaccination is a myth that we
Yeah.
can't
yeah,
show,
but are there other
things?
myths and misconceptions about what causes autism or?
Yeah, I think that some doctors in Sri Lanka is actually spreading this myth. Is that
Spreading the myths.
spreading the myth? They're telling the parents that it is caused by parenting and screen time. Interesting. So then our parents come and tell me, oh, this doctor told me that because you gave screen And the parents are already feeling guilty. You know, my child is autistic. Did I do this? I should have done that. They're already struggling, and what should I have done? Then you go and tell somebody, screen. But screen can temporarily, take away the social interaction. But if you take the screen away, then the social interaction come back and the speech come back. It doesn't cause autism. It doesn't cause autism. And the research consistently says parenting and screen time does not cause autism. But if the child is just watching TV, like phone all the time, not interacting with anybody without any social interaction, that might affect your social interaction and speech. But then if you take that away, then it will go back to where it should be. It doesn't cause autism. But then you get this, and I feel really bad for this when I hear that. So now I go, when I do this awareness program, I also do go and do training on screen time. What is the right use of screen time? What age you should be using screen? And because parents, they ask you, so doctor, my child was born during the COVID time. At the time, there was screen, and because during COVID time, everybody is watching.
Yeah.
So screen, TV. Is this what happened? And I was like, no, there's no evidence for that. Oh man, my doctor told me this is screen and told me to take this. But doctor may have told you to take the screen away, so that because social interaction, if you're addicted to screen or too much screen is not good for you, that's good. But to tell that's causing autism.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So what is the right amount of screen time in these seminars you give? Like what?
What do you teach them about screen?
So I think in the guidelines by the American CDC and the NHS, I think it's under the age of 2, don't give
The screen at all.
Screen, yeah. At the age of 2 and 4, 1 to 2 hours of screen, and also it's also mixed. What kind of screen you watch is important. If you're watching passively, just watching a lone phone versus TV is different, because TV is that you are still exposed to what's going on here
around you.
Here it's just you're hyper focused on this, interacting on this on your phone. And then after the age of 4, and it is most to do with, like, say your family spend a lot of activities together, they socially interact. Then if we have a lot of screen time, that's okay. If the family is not actually interacting or anything, then it's just, even if you have like 1 hour of screen time or 2 hours of screen time. And also if you watch the screen with your family together, that also the quality of the screen time is important.
Exactly, because I think the content that you consume also has, we live in the age of social media. I don't think there's any teenager who doesn't have access to a phone or the internet right now. But there's also danger to that, right? The kind of content you're exposed to, because there's a lot of...
True. I think the issue is, it's like a correlation causation. So people scientifically can also argue that people who are violent, for example, are more likely to watch violent content in the first place.
Okay.
So though it's more like it might be even correlation, because people would say, my child, one of the school principals said, this child, they watch violent TV, then go and become violent. But is there a possibility that violent children are more likely to go and watch violent
content?
But that does trigger it, right? It does play a part, surely.
But how do you prove that, though? In scientific, what you can do is you have to put the children in a randomized control study. I'm not sure. I think when I was graduating psychology, we didn't have that particular, because it's very difficult to get ethical clearance for that.
Something like that. Sure.
But maybe it's there. Certain studies are done. But now maybe the content has some impact of it. But also we have to look at the fact that some people are naturally drawn to certain content. Like I watch thriller because I need it's a thriller. And my wife would say, I think you're going to like this movie. See, some people, because that actually, I have to, when I'm watching a movie, I can't get bored. I have to be like, it has to be. So it's very difficult to say that,
Okay. But having said all that, being a parent, being a child who is autistic, or a parent of a child who's autistic, it is quite a process. And I think a lot of parents in Sri Lanka, South Asia in general, are just terrified of the word autism in and of itself. I think they, like you've said before, it scares them, it drives them into silence, denying rather than, early intervention that
Yeah.
could actually help their child. So what, I guess, would you say to a parent, let's say who's watching right now, who might suspect that their child may be autistic or on the spectrum? How do they go about navigating that?
I hope it makes an impact what I'm going to say. The thing is, early intervention is really key. If you have a child with cancer, you don't wait and see maybe the cancer goes away. Right? You don't. Because cancer will get worse and it becomes difficult to treatable. Early intervention at there are a lot of research suggesting if you start ABA at the age of 2, there are very high chance the child will become independent. Very high chance at the age of 2. Early intervention is really important. Then I also tell some parents what they do is that very important when you have a child with autism, they say, I'm in the middle of my career now. I'm going to focus on my career. Then I'm going to focus on my child. When the child has become 13 and 14, it happens. It happened many times. Then the child becomes like 13 and 14 and the child has aggressive behavior, obesity and all of that. Now they have time to take time off from the career and stuff. Then they will say, doctor, can you please help me? And I said, well, I saw you 10 years ago. I told you this. Now you're coming back 10 years. Okay, how difficult to treat a 14-year-old versus 2-year-old, the 4-year-old. It is. Then I always say that if you have to, not everybody have the privilege of putting everything on hold. Not everybody has the money, right? But in Sri Lanka, people would say, have this, I would rather have a lot of gold at home, but I don't want to pay for speech therapy. Do you know what I mean? That I would rather have a lot of gold at home.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I'm a bit controversial. Some people, they don't like when I talk like that, but I go and tell them, the thing is that you might think that later on in 10 years you will have more money, but the time is critical. It needs now.
But is it impossible after a point?
It's not impossible. Neuroplasticity, our brain can still change.
Yeah.
But it takes longer time
It's
and
more
more
difficult.
difficult. And sometimes the children, they become into maladaptive communication. The only way they're going to communicate to get attention from you is just they will throw things at you to get attention. They spit at you, they bite you to get attention because that's they learned. Then at the age of 14, then you try to fix that problem. They might even come back and hit you.
Yeah, some things are irreversible, right? If you reach that age without intervention, are there certain symptoms or symptoms that you can't reverse?
Certain symptoms you can't reverse.
After you reach a certain age
It
without...
becomes difficult.
Okay.
It becomes difficult.
But it is
It is
reversible.
reversible. Most of the things in ABA, it will take longer. It will take longer. You would need a specialized care. Sometimes you may need 2 persons to work with. Somebody, 22-year-old person is the only way the person knows how to get attention is to spit at you and shout at you and hit you. That's the only way. Then you say, no, I'm not going to give attention when you do that. The child will do that more. Then we call it extension based. Okay. The child will do that more because the child knows that in the past it worked. Why is it not working? Right? So in order to overcome that extension base, you may have 2 people there working there to block the child without giving attention, specialized skills. It becomes really difficult. With the age of 4-year-old, 4-year-old, you just block, and after that, after 1 week, they give up and they say, if you want attention, I had to put the hands up. They learn. They learn very nicely. I had to put the hands up. If it works nicely, I'm going to get a break. If I just throw things, they're not going to give me a break. They learn that. They learn that if they want to break.
They're still developing.
It's developing. Then if they want to break, I just give the break card. Not throw, not spit, not shout. They learn that.
Okay.
Okay. So, Doctor, in 10 years, if everything does go the way you hope it to go with Treehouse and everything, what does a typical day look like for a neurodivergent kid born in Sri Lanka?
If everything works
Everything
in
goes
Sri
well.
Lanka, we have 22 million people in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, we don't know what is the prevalent rate of autism
in children.
And there were 10 years ago, somebody did a study, said
one in 93.
There's a lot of flaws in the study, a lot of flaws, a lot of external validity is an issue. There are a lot of flaws in the. The problem in Sri Lanka is in order to get a prevalent rate, you have to first have a diagnosis. People have to admit the child has autism. So what you are getting is that, when you do a test, you go to hospital and take a sample size, that's the fraction of the sample who's actually come into the. So in order to, the first step we have to do is actually to find out how many people are non-diagnosed.
Which is what, impossible, right?
Non-diagnosed. Then only we can go into finding what might be. Maybe we can use complex, not complex, advanced statistical model to find out, what would be the, what would happen. There are other ways of overcoming that issue. But it is, I don't think nobody invested that money. When you apply for funding, and the first question comes to what is the prevalent rate and why do you have to work on that? And you don't even have that data to work with. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think we touched on this, but so part of what Treehouse hopes to do is prepare these kids for mainstream school. What happens after school? What happens when they join the workplace? Because I would argue that mainstream school itself does not teach you to adapt to the workplace. So what happens when they have that initial transition and now they also graduate school and have to
Become
go into
adults.
work?
So it's called services cliff. Services cliff being that around the world, not just in Sri Lanka, when children become 18, the services with autism, it's like a cliff. You come to the end and let's reduce services. So there are various organizations in Sri Lanka. Right now, Treehouse is not working on that side to address that. Our thing is to regulate the services, that behavior therapy, and also autism awareness. So from the newer generation, things are going to be better. But there is people who are already in that category, as an individual person and a small organization, it's very difficult to address that challenge. But we are partnering with various different organizations who address this challenge. We provide our expertise and for them to do it themselves. So there are various organizations that have came forward to have vocational training. Organization would have the parents who have severe form of autism and intellectual disabilities to make sure that their children live in a care home and they are trained and they are safe and trust. All these organizations are forming in Sri Lanka. We support those organizations and say, what are the skills that you should be teaching, and we will support that organization. That's what is happening. It takes. Somebody told me that I'm going to be in trouble to talking about. Somebody told me that this government has put X amount of money towards the special needs. I really appreciate that. And the person who told me, he was in, I don't know much about cars. He was right next to his car, and then then I asked him, how much is your car, right? How much is your car? And it's like his car is more than the money that he's putting for 22 million for 22 million people, right? And he's like, but yeah, it's good that the government is putting the money in, but it's not. It's not enough.
To start, though, I guess.
It's a good start. You had to start from somewhere.
But why do you think governments like us don't prioritize?
I mean,
What is the reason that this is not a priority for them? I don't understand.
I assume it goes back to the society taboo around it, right? Because it translates into people in government anyway.
I'm not sure. I think it's like if it happened to your child, right? I know there are world leaders who have, or assistant or president. When they have autistic child, they like to prioritize and they want to put it. When it comes to you, when if it doesn't come to you, then if it's cancer, then you think, oh my God, I had priorities. Maybe I'm going to get cancer later on.
Okay.
It's a lack of empathy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's very difficult to pinpoint it. It is that because there's so much of
So many factors.
so many factors. So many factors involved in that.
Okay. Well, it might be really sensitive and touchy, but since we're talking about Sri Lanka, the culture, and how traditional we are, I also can't help but think about whether religious beliefs and your background also comes to play in how you deal with something like this? Because I would imagine, I mean, I have personal stories of friends who, when they dealt with challenges like autism, their families and parents and teachers would turn them towards religion and see it as a punishment or a test by God. And I don't know if that's, because to me, I mean, if parents, teachers, and caregivers don't know how to go about it, at least they should know what not to do to make it worse. So have you dealt with those kind of situations?
There's one specific example where one parent came and told me that they think a child has autism in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And what they do is they have hired somebody to pray, and so the child, the person who came to pray and read the holy book, the child started to close their ears. That's because auditory sensitivity, right?
Yes.
Oh, no.
So then they interpreted that the devil doesn't want to hear you.
Yeah.
The devil doesn't want to hear you. And the child is going, I don't like this. So yeah, the devil doesn't want to hear you, right? So I told them, they don't even have to come and pay me anything. Please tell them to just come and see me. Like, just tell them, just come and see me. That's all, right? They don't have to worry about the cost or anything. Just come. No, they don't. But that is, I think that's more common outside Colombo, I think.
Okay.
But this did happen in Colombo.
In Colombo.
But I think it's more common outside Colombo. I just take it's just my educated guess. But in Colombo, it's slightly better, I would say, in general.
Okay. So, I mean, big picture, I mean, Inosh asked you what your vision is for Treehouse, but I also want to ask you what your vision is, or rather hope for this country, because speaking to you, I've identified a lot of things that need to change, very institutional things as well as very personal things of each individual that has to change. But to you, for Sri Lanka to become a better place for
I have an answer for it.
yeah, what would you say are the largest changes?
The government should change the policies in a way you don't export skill. You don't study here and all educated people leave, and then you cannot build a system with unskilled people, You have to find a way the educated and skilled people remain and contribute to the society. You go to TVEC, you know what's the TVEC, the Tertiary and Vocational Commission or something?
No,
Educational
okay.
Commission. It's part of the the government system. It's a TVEC approval. It's like they provide diploma accreditation, right?
Okay, right.
So if you wanted to go and ask for accreditation for a course, and they ask you, like, in order to justify, one of the things is, it doesn't provide foreign employment. I was like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to send the skilled people abroad? Outside. Like, I came here to build a system that you don't have, and you're telling me that I teach somebody so that you can go abroad. And I'm like, no, that's the fundamental problem. If you look at Australia, they say skilled migration. They wanted skilled people to come. Here, they wanted skilled people to leave, so that providing temporary leave for them, so they sent money home, that dollar exchange, and is a temporary solution. And long term, you're not creating a system that is, so that I think the skilled people, the government has to facilitate, and the way, even also facilitate a system where skilled people, Sri Lankans who left, come back to Sri Lanka. Yeah. We give you extra benefit. You come back and you don't have to pay any tax. You bring everything back, we give you extra benefit for you, and create it, okay, if we need these skilled people. So there are skilled shortage in Sri Lanka, come back, and we have to reinvest in the country. But then the government policy is like that. It's like, they go and preach, okay, to every country they go and preach, we want the expats to come back, we want expats. You go to these embassies and say, okay, well, I wanted to come back, like, how does it work? They don't know. They don't know. It happened to me. You go to embassies, like, people wanted to come back. We wanted to know what is the area, where do the government want help, and where does the skill shortage, where's the gap?
They don't know.
They don't know.
But there is a gap. They just don't know.
There is a huge gap. That's a huge gap. The only thing we have is a gap. We have is a gap. So instead of just going to say skilled people come back, you have to create a system for them to come back. If you take Israel, for example, what they call it Aliyah. Aliyah means right of return. Aliyah. So if we come back to Israel, they give you a basket then they actually give you money to come back.
To come back.
They give you money to come back, and they have a different agenda. Let's not get into the different agenda. But then they give you that they want people to come back, and it's very systematic. And in Sri Lanka, it's the government, or every government say, we want all the expats to come back and come in. Then when you come back into the community, right? When you come back, you make it so difficult for you to even get your visa. And then you go to immigration once, and you never wanted to come back here.
Yeah.
You never wanted to come back. You wanted to make it easier for people to come back and.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so that is one large change then for
skilled people. In order to build a system, we need skilled people. Our system is set up in a way that exporting skill.
But do you see that there is an interest by younger people or younger medical professionals to actually pursue fields like this? I mean, I have a sister who is very young and she wants to go into sports psychology. So I feel like there is a lot of interest for it, but does Sri Lanka provide the right atmosphere to know?
I'm glad that you asked the question. The system is set up in a way the younger people, skilled people, cannot come to the front because there is political, especially there are political influence and set up in a way certain people who does not meet the criteria or qualification hold on to the position. And when somebody is really coming up and they feel like, I'm not valued here anymore.
They
leave, right? Then they ask you why the system is not working. They ask you why the system is not working. I mean, I'm really sorry for the government because this is going to take them from fundamentally changing the education system. It will take a long time to fix the system. The system is completely broken, right? It's that what they're trying to do is put some Band-Aid on top of a big problem so it just day to day that it can function. Fundamentally, the system has to change, and there's a lot of compromise that has to be made. And that also people are not ready for that as well. So most of the people, they wanted to have food every day and eat food every day. Sometime when you change the system, then it's going to affect somebody else. And then these people, they won't vote for the same government because it is going to affect. That is also problem with the democracy.
That's a big conversation.
It is. But I mean, as individuals or people of this population, of course, we have to force our government to take action and make these systematic changes. But as individuals who are living in the society, is there any advice you would give to us on how to go about these things? Anything that could help us address the issue on a personal scale?
I think being inspirational for other people. Being inspirational for other people, it is because a lot of people, when I brought regulated behavior therapy to Sri Lanka, a lot of people, they looked up to me and said, I want to be like him. That inspiration is really important. When I promote somebody at the Treehouse, and people always ask me why this person promoted and why this person is promoted, and I always tell them, I always look to make sure that are you being a role model for another person? If you cannot be a role model, how can you be leading? So being a role model and inspiration is really important, I think.
I think it's, there's no doubt that you're a role model and inspiration for a lot of people. So thank you, Dr. Anton.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Alrighty. That was great.
Thank you.